Welcome to the TMC Newsroom here on the road in San Jose. I'm with Bernard Aboussouan, who is the VP of Marketing of GainSpan. Bernard, thank you for being here with me.
Hello. How are you?
I really appreciate this. First of all, we've got toys. I'm always happy when we've got props. And the beauty of GainSpan is basically they build nice modules that connect up all these Wi-Fi functionalities to sensors. And we've been discussing whether or not the M2M term works, because Bernard, you're in a lot of different verticals here.
Yes, very much so.
And we've talked about some telematics stuff with some tire pressure. We've talked about some home healthcare things. And I want to point out the school system one that you've got there. So why don't you talk about that and what you guys have done there?
That's a typical application. So again, we have customers who are developing application in a lot of different fields. Our focus has been smart energy and healthcare, but there are a lot of application in the industrial place as well. In this case, what you have here is typically used in school system. It's a microscope that's basically connected to an iPad or an iPhone, or could be connected to a PC, and showing fundamentally small things. But it's also being used very much in the cosmetic industry, where you could look at skin. And you could look at the skin and fundamentally look at it and see the effect of some of the cosmetic onto the skin.
Yep, and what's neat about that is this kind of leads into a lot of the things you were saying earlier, in the fact that you're built here that a lot of different people are using their smartphone as a hub. So where I would want you to talk about machine to machine, the truth is it's more machine to man, and the fact that these sensors are using the smartphone as a controller. So you want to bring up?
Yeah, very much so. So I think initially we started, about connecting things to the internet, and what we're finding out is also that there's a lot of application where connecting things to the internet makes sense, but it also connecting things to people or people to things, and that's very important. A lot of people are, a lot of application are basically showing up where, fundamentally what they want to monitor or control a device. Using a smartphone. We have, for example, we have a lot of toys, for example, that are developed. Initially, they were controller. Now people want to use a smartphone as a toy controller. Okay, and so we have several customers coming up with application like this.
Yep, and we're friendly with the folks at Lego's Mindstorm, and we know they actually built an Android app for that kind of functionality. And you also brought up home care type solutions. You also mentioned something about being on the heels of some activity. Can you talk about what that was? Where you were sitting there and the sensors were basically checking out pressure?
Yeah, so the large application in the home healthcare is obviously glucose monitor, blood pressure monitor, and things of that type. But we also have customers who are developing smart slippers. And the smart slippers is fundamentally where you have pressure sensor on in each of the sole. You have 4 sensors, and basically detects when a person is old or sick, etc. It basically detects the instability of that person and whether he needs a walker or he needs something else. Basically, he needs help. You are able to detect this, by the way he walks, and fundamentally takes the proper action to prevent any injury.
Okay, now we've done a lot about the app side. Let's get down to the roots of what you guys build. And you're telling us that right now Wi-Fi is definitely kind of the protocol of choice, the wireless solution of choice for most of your customers.
Yeah, very much so. I think if you look at Wi-Fi as opposed to alternative technology like Zigbee or Z-Wave, Wi-Fi is widely deployed. There are over 2 billion devices that have been deployed with Wi-Fi. Obviously, a lot of it is laptop, smartphone, etc. But the fact that you have that capability, most every home right now has Wi-Fi. Any home that has broadband connection, I think there's a penetration of Wi-Fi is like 70%. So it's it's huge in the home, and obviously it's very easy to connect devices to it. And people are getting familiar with Wi-Fi, how to connect. When they travel, they go to the airport, etc. They have their PC, they typically connect. So people are getting used to the connectivity of Wi-Fi or setting up a network. or use it on a smartphone. So as a result, because people are familiar, they kind of like Wi-Fi. In fact, some of the retailers would tell you it's always easier to sell with Wi-Fi than any other technology because people are comfortable with it.
Cool, cool. So we're going to show the fact that it's GainShare. This is associated with Freescale, and you've got some other interesting partners. One of the ones was I'm going to have problems remembering. It's our home.
Our home space.
Our home space.
So our home space is one of the partners that basically developing application on an iPhone that typically work with Apple products. But they also fundamentally want to connect things to web-hosted services. So typically they are developing web-hosted services.
And it's mostly energy focused. And
it is. They are very much focusing on the energy sector. Very
cool.
much so. Yeah. So smart plugs, thermostats, things of that type.
So we basically have a lot of different modules, a lot of different sizes. You also mentioned you do wrist functionality too.
Yes. So Wi-Fi basically gives you the real-time location services as well. You're basically able to triangulate using Wi-Fi, using signal strands. You're able to basically identify the location of an individual or a device. Yeah, cool. Very much so. So it's used for asset tracking. It's also used, even if the asset is stable. But for example, in hospital application, hospitals tend to buy a lot of more equipment because when they need it, they can't find it. So, putting fundamentally on some of those expensive devices, putting a tag there, a Wi-Fi tag there, basically helps them when they need it, basically to locate it very quickly, as opposed to buying extra equipment.
Cool, cool. Bernard, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time.